Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Caitlin Osborne. I am a Customer Success Account Manager on our pharma team here at ReadTech, and we are very excited to go over the enhancements of SingleSource for drug products with you today. Our agenda today will include a brief introduction of SingleSource and the benefits of the new SingleSource platform. I will then pass it over to John Nolan, our Product Manager for the ReadTech Pharma Product Suite. He will be providing a training of the updated system, detailing the authentication, how and where to track your orders, how to create an order, and then how to update information such as the companies and contacts, the drug listing data collection form, and the labeler code and establishment registration. We will then have time for a Q&A, and we ask that you use the Q&A feature to ask all questions, not the chat feature. And we do ask that you save all questions to the end. SingleSource for drug products was developed in 2011 through a partnership with one of the world's top pharmaceutical companies. The original purpose was to maintain drug product metadata information, and this project was then outsourced to a third party who suggested the use of SharePoint 2010. SharePoint is a Microsoft tool used for document management and internal collaboration. At this time, SharePoint did meet the original requirements for SingleSource, but since our customer base has grown, we have realized that there is more needed to the system. The current functionality of the platform is limited, so it makes it difficult to meet your current needs. SharePoint 2010 will no longer be supported by Microsoft beginning this month and has to be replaced. This will not impact any current contracts that are in place, and all existing data in SingleSource will be migrated to the new system. The new SingleSource platform will no longer be using SharePoint. You have all provided great feedback over the years, and moving away from SharePoint will help us implement those improvements needed. Our major focus for this initial release is to improve the user's experience. We are providing a more seamless flow throughout the system. You will be able to make updates to product listings and registrations faster with improved connections to your data. We have improved the functionality of the system so you can add data quicker. And in a future release, we will be including the GDUFA self-ID, blanket no-change certification, and the capability to make minor updates to your content of labeling or artwork. We are also giving you more control with your username and the setup of your password. We have updated the validation process and FDA-controlled terminology. And lastly, we have improved the security in order to protect your data. I'm sure your big question is, when do we get access to this new environment? We will stop accepting orders to the current platform starting at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on October 22nd. Any orders received after this will not guarantee that they migrate properly to the new platform. At this time on October 22nd, you will no longer have access to the system. The release of the updated platform will begin on October 23rd, and our team will be working throughout the weekend to ensure the live environment is working smoothly. You will then officially have access beginning on October 26th at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. On that date, you can use the link shown on the slide to access the system. For your initial login, you will use your company email address and click Forgot Password to reset your password. If you have a need for an order to be processed during our release period, we ask that you contact our SPL team at spl@readtech.com, and one of the project coordinators can help with the process so no orders are delayed. I will now be passing it over to John Nolan so he can show you this awesome new SingleSource platform that we've been talking about.
All right, great. Thank you, Caitlin. And thank you everybody in attendance today. It's very exciting to be able to show you what we've been doing with the SingleSource for drug products system. So to be mindful of everybody's time here, I'm going to jump right in. So as Caitlin has mentioned, we have revamped the authentication that we use for SingleSource for drug products. We wanted to give the users more control over their credentials, specifically their password. So when it comes time for you to all the access the new system, this will be the new login screen that you will see for SingleSource for drug products. As mentioned as well, your user ID will be your company email address. As you can see here, mine is johnnolan@retech.com. So upon the initial login, what you will have to do is that you'll have to click on Forgot Your Password. This will allow you to set up a password of your own choosing. So when doing so, again, you'll have to put in your email address here and hit continue, and you'll be sent a verification number that you'll then need to enter into this module here. And I don't want to go through and have to reset my password for this demo purpose, but there will be helpful instructions that guide you along as you move through the process. We will also provide instructions on how to set your password in the appendix of these slides that we'll send out to everybody. We'll be emailing instructions out to all of our users. And if you ever have any questions, you can reach out to one of your account managers, whether it be Andrew Etheridge or Caitlin Osborne. So upon logging into the system, you'll be taken to the landing page. Oh, excuse me. Let me go back here. The new SingleSource for drug products also enables you to access multiple client sites if need be. For many of you, you will not see this select the company option. You will only have access to one client site, but the new system can handle multiple client sites if you have multiple facilities that require so. But again, on initial login, many of you will not see that. Upon logging in, you will be taken to the landing page, which is essentially what we call the order tracker. From the order tracker page, there's many things that you can do here. You can view orders that are currently in process that have already been delivered or are pending to be confirmed by Retech. You have helpful information and identifiers such as your order ID, your order name, tracking number, NDC product codes that are related to the product listing metadata that you have attached to the order, the labeler company for that product listing metadata, your current order status, service types, order type, your delivery priority, description, confirmed date, your actual delivery date, your order owner, when the order was created, who created it, and when it was last modified. Based on some helpful feedback that we had from the current system, we wanted to make sure that we were only showing the most relevant information on our grids. So what we have done is that we have moved the draft orders over to its own area, so they're not cluttering the current in-process orders. So any drafts that you have will be over here on this tab. You can also create an order from this page. Once an order has been delivered, you can download your order from this page. You will see here that it will highlight in green with the status of order delivered, awaiting approval, with this little download icon. If I click on this here, my order will download in the right or left-hand corner for me to open and review. From here as well, what I can do is, if I'm happy with the delivery, I have no more required changes, I can accept this order. If I do require further changes, I can resubmit this order. From here, if you have an order in a pending status or in process status, I can cancel the order if I no longer need it. I can also view my orders. So we updated the order page based on some very helpful feedback that we received over the years as well, to make it more like a shopping cart experience. I'll get into this in more detail as we move on into the training, but it's split up into 3 sections, such as your order type, your additional options, and the ability to place an order. Moving on from the order tracker, what I would like to show is our contacts and companies. Much like SingleSource for drug products today, we maintain a library of your contacts and your companies that can be used for downstream uses. For example, establishment registrations and labeler code request submissions require that you identify a contact. Much like the system today, we still provide that ability, but we made it a little more user-friendly to do. The grids are much more easier to view your contact information. Each one of the grids follows similar functionality where you can filter by clicking underneath the columns and hit enter. I can do the same over here. And each one of these columns can be sorted as well by clicking on them. Again, we separated out the drafts from your active versions. So all drafts will be in their own separate area for you to access, reducing the clutter that you see. And we're only showing the most relevant information to you on the contacts grid. If I need to create a new contact, what I can do is click on the blue button here, and I will follow the fields. Once you have satisfied a required field, it will turn from red to green, letting you know that you have satisfied that. And at this point, what you could do is that you could save as a draft, or you could save. Depending on the type of registration that this contact will be used in, you would have to provide other information such as your street address, city, country, state, and postal code. All the boxes that have drop downs are text to scroll. So instead of having to scroll individually all the way down to find the United States, I can start typing United States and it will take me to that. Same goes for the state province. And now I can save. We'll see here that my contact is added. Now keep in mind, just like the current single source for drug products, you will not have to proactively always enter in your contact and company information. In many cases, you can ingest your product portfolio and a registration portfolio into the system, and it will pull all that in for you. So the system itself, per se, will create the company records and the contact records. Many of you already have sites set up in the current single source for drug products. All that information will be migrated over and be available to use come day one when we go live in production. Also on the grids, and this holds true for all the grids, we're showing only the most recent version. If you notice here for Bruce Wayne, we have version 2.0. We created a version history by, if you go into the record itself, you'll see here the contact history, and it will show my previous versions. So if I ever needed to go back and look at a previous version that I created or one of my colleagues created, it would be here in the contact history. So I could go back to version 1.0 and view that and switch back to the current 2.0 if necessary. Moving on to companies. Again, companies will be used downstream in establishment registrations, labeler code request, as well as your product listing metadata section of your drug listings. The grid is very similar to the contacts. We show the most active record. Drafts will be on their own individual tab. From here, I could create a new company, or I can view an existing company. Again, you would not always have to create a company from scratch. These should be populated based on the registrations that you have ingested or the drug listings you have ingested. But if you ever do need to create a company on the fly, you can do so here by creating on Create New Company. The first thing that you would have to do is choose your company type. So in some instances, say if you're doing an establishment registration and you only have one facility, that facility can be identified as an establishment that you own. It can also be your labeler company. It could also be your registering company. And as you see here, you can associate your company contacts over on the right-hand side. So we would need to identify an establishment contact, a labeler contact, and a registered contact. All of the red fields are fields that need to be satisfied in order for you to create the company. If you do not satisfy these, all that you could do at that point is save a draft, but these are all required fields for the type of companies that you have chosen. So you would simply fill them out. Again, drop downs are type to scroll. Here I selected, I have a labeler. There, this company Wayne Tech could be identified as a labeler. I have the ability here to enter a labeler code if I already have that labeler code available. Keep in mind that the FDA assigns labeler codes, so if you do not have a labeler code yet, you can simply leave this blank and come back and always update the record later. Because I identified as an establishment, I'd have to choose my business operations. My business operation qualifier. If I have more than one business operation, I can click the green plus symbol and I can choose a second. And from this point, I can save a draft or I can create a company. So here I have my new company, Wayne Tech, and now I can use this company for further downstream use. I can use this in my drug listing. I can use this to create an establishment registration. I can also use this to create a labeler code request. Pardon me. So again, just like the contacts, I mentioned that we only show the most recent version. If I want to see the version history of Gotham Industries, for example, I'm on version 3.0. I can simply go into that record, and down here on the right-hand side under company history, I will see all my previous versions that I have created, and I can simply click on them to review what was previously entered. As you can see here as well, for the contact information, what it's telling me is that I have a more recent record available for Bruce Wayne. So this little red alert here is saying this contact is either not the latest version or is on a leave of absence or no longer exists. Please update. So this is essentially a warning to let you know to update it to a more recent record. But if I go back to the current, what I'd have to do is make sure that these are all updated as well. So I can simply click Bruce Wayne. Oswald Cobblepot is okay. The more recent Bruce Wayne, and update the company record. Moving on, I'd like to move on to the product labeling and listing page. Again, the grid is very similar to what we've seen already. It will show all active versions of the forms that you have available. You have your drafts in a separate tab. And this is also where you would retrieve your delivered SPL merge deliveries. So for those of you familiar with the merge functionality that we offer in SingleSource for drug products today, we offered a similar functionality. The only difference being today is that once a merge order is completed, you would click here, and this is where you would download that file. So under file name, you have the little download icon. I can click on this link and the zip package that the system created will download for me to review. From here, I have some very helpful identifiers that we did not have before to help me identify my product listing metadata form. We also refer to this as the LL form, labeling and listing form. So we've added the NDC code. So if you have multiple NDC product codes, you'd be able to see them on the grid by hovering over the NDC code. We also provide information such as the labeler name, the product type as well. And from here, I can create a new product labeling and listing form by clicking Get Started. What that will take you to is this form wizard, where you have to basically provide 3 different values. So we wanted to give more flexibility over what you name the form today. So you'd have to provide a form name. This could be anything of your choosing. This is better for the user to track the form. Previously, the system assigned a name for you based on a proprietary name. So if you have similar products that may vary slightly, you can use this custom form name to identify them there. So I can say Verticon PAS, for example. I'd have to choose my product type, whatever that may be. From the drop down here, again, this drop down is type to scroll. We can say that this is a human prescription drug label. I can enter my effective date. Now I can manually enter a date here, or I can use this calendar to identify a date. And it will also ask you if this product is a kit. If it is a kit, you'd simply click yes. If it's not a kit, you can leave it as no as a default. If you have a combination of a standalone product and a kit, once you're in the form, you can always add a kit component. So I'd hit next. And this will take me into the product labeling and listing form. You'll notice over here, we have this sidebar that popped up. This is essentially almost like a toolbox. If you click on this and expand, it gives you helpful information, such as your form name. You can always click this to edit it if you decide this is not a name you'd like to use. It gives you the effective date, which you can also edit. Your set ID. I only recommend changing this if truly necessary. Once a set ID is assigned to a product, that set ID lives through the entire lifespan of that product. But if for whatever reason down the line FDA asks you to change it or something happens and you need to change it, you now have the ability to change that. So also here you have some helpful little buttons which you can click on as well. You can clone a product from here. You can delete a product. You can add a blank product. And as I mentioned, you can add a kit. Or you can simply clone the form. So what does clone product mean? Let's say that I have a product that has multiple formulations and different NDC product codes, but they share similarities, such as the proprietary name and the inactive ingredients and the active ingredients. I can fill out my first form for my formulation. I can click on clone products, and what the system will do is that it'll clone all that information for you, so you don't have to spend time re-entering that. And all that you would need to do is put in the new active ingredient strength and the NDC product code that's associated with that particular formulation. So to provide more room or a better view, you can always collapse the sidebar by clicking the X. You can bring it back by clicking on this hamburger icon. But to move through the form, what you see here is really based on a lot of great feedback that we've been provided over the years to make the form look a little more familiar, a little more user-friendly. So if this is your first time seeing this form in this new system, what you'll notice is that we tried to replicate as closely as possible what you would see in the product listing metadata of a rendered drug listing. So when you render a drug listing today, SPL, and you scroll to the bottom and you see that gray metadata table, that is what we tried to replicate to make this more easier to flow through. So we broke it down into sections. It's broken down into sections as well. You have your header details. So to fill out any of these empty fields, simply click on them and then type in your value. Let's see, establish new. Dosage form is a drop-down. Again, this is type to scroll. Oops. My product type I chose during the form wizard, so I would not have to enter this information. The NDC product code would be your labeler code and product code for this product. The NDC product code, you'll notice that it's blank here. This will populate once you choose your labeler company. So again, you can quickly jump to the labeler from the sidebar here if you like, and you can add it now, or as you work down the form, you can add it later. Let's say that my labeler is Gotham Industries. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I scroll back up, you'll see now that is populated. I'd enter my product code. Source FBC product code I would only use in certain circumstances, so I leave that blank. Same goes for DEA drug schedule, but you do have controlled terminology here. My active ingredients, I'll always start with one blank active ingredient. Oh, excuse me. Let me back up to the route of administration. Route of administration, you can have one or many. So again, this is a drop down, and I can type the scroll. So I can choose oral, and just for the sake of these training, I can show you how you can simply add another. If you just click in the box, you choose whatever you like. Each route of administration can also be removed. If you notice the X here, I simply click on that X, and that leaves me with simply oral. So back to the active ingredients. You always start with one blank active ingredient row. If you need to add more active ingredients, you would simply click this plus symbol. If you need to remove that active ingredient, you can simply click here to the remove. For the ingredient name, you'd begin by typing. And you would find your most closest match in the list. Another little helpful trick that we added in here is that if you're dealing with a lot of ingredients, sometimes there's a lot of substances to choose from. I believe that the FDA, last I checked, had 190 possibilities that you could choose for a substance. You're also dealing with preferred terminology as well, and you may not know what that FDA preferred terminology is. So if you ever find yourself in a bind, what we did is we provided this helpful link here that could take you to the FDA substance registration system. And you can simply type in the substance that you're looking for and do a search. And just simply take that Unicode for the product, or the substance, excuse me. Go back to SingleSource for drug products, type that Unicode in, and it gives you an exact match. Again, this is just a helpful hint. We're not saying that you have to go and use the substance registration system. You can enter in the substance and choose from the list that's provided. We are tied into the substance registration system, so we'll be there. This is just if you have a lot of ingredients and you want a quicker way to go about this, you can access the FDA substance registration system and search by uni. Choose your base as a strength. Now you have to put your strength in for your products. So let's say that it says I have acetaminophen, I have 500 milligrams in one tablet. Again, the 1*1 is basically a blanket statement. It's FDA controlled terminology. So in this case, because my dosage form is a tablet, what this is saying here is that I have 5 milligrams in one tablet. Excuse me. The FDA does not have specific terminology here to say tablet, so that's why they use this 1 and 1 each. Active works the same as the ingredient name. Again, I can simply just put in the Unicode here and get a direct hit. Moving down to inactive ingredients, they work very similar to active ingredients. So if I need to add more than one, I can hit the plus symbol and it will add another row. So I can say, I want a cornstarch, and I also want purified water. And as you notice here, I typed in purified water and it came back with water. That's because water water, excuse me, is the preferred FDA substance term that you should use for the product listing. Next, moving down to the product characteristics. As I enter the tablet, I am required to enter product characteristics. Color, these are all FDA controlled terminology. The score, my size, this should be a whole number value. And one thing that I want to point out is that once we go live in the system, we will have helpful tooltips embedded here. So if you ever find yourself in a bind, you'll be able to click on the tooltip and it will give you some helpful information. They're currently in the testing phase, so we won't be able to show you what those would look like today. But again, they will be available once we go live. So packaging, one thing that we are working on right now is the ability to identify the product as a sample package. Come the October 26th release, we will not have this active, but we'll have it out in the next release, which is coming very shortly afterwards. But due to the environment that I'm showing you today, this will give you an idea of what it'll look like. If you do have a sample, you can simply click this and it will identify the product or the packaging as a sample and put the appropriate code in place when you build the XML. For each package, you have the ability to select a combination product type. You also have the ability to assign a marketing information to that package configuration. And now you can begin building your packaging levels. Packaging can have multiple levels. This, for example, could simply be 100. Again, we had that 1 * 1, which represents tablets in a bottle. And that could simply be how I sell that product today or distribute that product today. But in some cases, I may have this bottle in a carton. So to identify that, what I would do is click this plus symbol. And now what I have here is 100 tablets in a bottle, 1 bottle in a carton. And I would assign my NDC package code to that. In some cases, you may have a NDC package code on the inner and outermost packaging. If you need to add an NDC on the inner, just hit this blue plus code button and you'd be able to enter your package code. And when you update it, what will happen is it will add the other relevant information in there, such as your labeler code and your product code as well. Again, I can remove that package level by hitting that minus symbol or remove button. And I can re-add one again, just for the sake of this training. So I have 1 bottle in a carton. In many cases too, you have more than one packaging configuration. So here it's identified as configuration 1. I may have an example where I have a 200 tablets in a bottle. And what I would do now is click this new packaging configuration and repeat the steps I just showed you. Moving on, we have the marketing information. So you would choose your marketing category. If you have an application number, you would add that as well. Or perhaps if you have a monograph citation, you would click this little radial here and enter your monograph citation, such as part 333, I believe is an example. Your marketing status, if this is actively on market, choose active and provide a marketing start date. If it's being delisted, your status would be marketing or completed, and you would provide a marketing start date as well as a marketing end date. Down to the bottom, we have our company information. We did add our labeler code already, if you recall, so we can populate the labeler code up at the top. You can add a registrant if need be. This would pre-populate from your company's library, which we showed in the very beginning of this demonstration training. And you can also add your establishments. Establishments operate a little differently than a labeler and registrant because you can have more than one. So if I click edit, you'll get this little modal that pops up. I can then choose my company for my company's library. So let's say I choose Gotham Industries. It will show me all my business categories, excuse me, and my NDC product codes already checked off. I can mark this as confidential if need be, or if I choose not to, leave this blank. I can add another company. Everything will be checked off. If I need to remove one of these, as this company may not do it, let's say down here for this product, let's say that All Better Now Medicines does not do the pack business operation for this product. I can simply uncheck it and I can save. And you'll see here down at the bottom, it is now populated, your company name, your DUNS number, your business operations, and your NDC product code links. So from here, what I can do is I can simply validate. I want to point out that you can validate at any point throughout. I can save this as a draft if I like. I can emerge this product, this form, if I have a previously delivered SPL, or I can build this to create an order. And that is exactly what I'll do. So if I click build, it'll ask me to verify my SPL version number. Since this is the first time I'm creating one, it will be 1. Hit continue. And now what it will do is go through validation. Depending on how much data that you've actually entered into these forms, validation can take a moment to complete. FDA has a lot of validation that it needs to go through. We want to make sure that it's checking everything properly. One of the things that we're going to be exploring in 2021 is how we can improve the performance and make this a little more user-friendly. So if you're interested in providing us feedback around that, please contact your account managers. So you'll see here, only thing I was presented with were some warnings. These can be ignored by clicking the checkbox and click Build SPL again. And anytime the system is processing, you will have that little icon there. Once you build your LL form, it will take you right into the order page. You can exit out of this. You don't have to necessarily create an order at this point, but if you do, it takes you right there. And now I'll walk you through how to place an order. What we wanted to do based on feedback is make this a little more user-friendly and make it more like a shopping cart experience. So the first thing that you'd have to do is that you have to determine what type of order you like to place, whether it be a full conversion or a partial conversion. ESG, I just want to point out that not everybody on this call relies on Retech to perform their ESG submissions. So this would only be used if you already have an agreement in place with Retech for us to handle ESG submissions for you. If you do not have that agreement in place with us, this is something that you can ignore. So what I would do is first choose the type I would like to do. I'd say I'm asking Retech to do an initial conversion, which is a full conversion. I would choose my service type. I'll say this is a human prescription drug product in PLR format. I would choose my delivery priority. We will have, come day one, some helpful charts that will show you what each one of these mean in terms of delivery timing. For example, a full PLR conversion that's a regular could take up to 5 days for us to convert. Expedited could take about 2 to 4 days, emergency the same day. It varies based on the service type that you choose. Here we are also giving you more control on what you want to name the order. This is for better tracking purposes. Some cases you may be doing a PAS submission, you may be doing a CBE 0, you may be doing a CBE 30, an annual report. You can identify that here. So I can say Redcon PAS. Order owners by default myself, so I don't have to go through and select that myself. You can add other individuals as well if need be by clicking here. You can add additional email recipients, and once you have this, you hit next step. Here's where you'll be able to add your optional tracking number. The tracking number is really, again, another customizable field for you to use to identify your versions of your content labeling or drug facts that you're using. So I can say I'm putting version 1 of my label in there. By default, your data collection form is already selected, but you can change it if need be. You have some helpful information on the form you have selected down here at the bottom. If I already had a previously delivered SPL for this, I would be able to identify the previous version of the SPL I want updated. This is completely optional, just like it is today. So I can leave that blank. Obviously, there's nothing there for me to choose since this is my first time doing this product. My source documentations. So in the current system today, you have to select each one of your files to upload into the system one by one. That's no longer the case. So today you can browse, bring up your computer folder that you have all your source documents, and you can simply drag them all and drop them in here, which will save you time. Or if you only have one file, you can simply choose it and select it. Once you have that information, click the final step. This is where you would provide instructions. We broke it out to make sure that we're able to convert your file to your satisfaction the first time. You know, we asked a few questions. What are your changes to the content of labeling or drug facts? Do you have any? Tell us what changed. Principal display panel, what changed? Labeling and listing metadata, what changed? And then also this instruction box. Each one of these is optional, but the more information that you can provide the retech, you know, the better the chances that we get it right the first time. You know, that's our ultimate goal, to make sure that we're making you successful. If you're not successful, we're not successful. So, you know, please tell us what you want done. In this case, it'll be a full conversion. You know, you can simply say process as a full conversion per the Word document is another example. Once you're ready, you can review the order. You'll see over here, you have these order details, and you'll submit your order. You'll get a little pop-up here that tells you your order request has been submitted, and one of our project coordinators is in process of reviewing your order. Once the order has been reviewed, you'll receive a confirmation email that includes the expected delivery date. So once you click OK, it will take you back to your grid. You'll see here on your grid, because ReadyCon is the most recent, it's there, it's pending, it's waiting for retech to confirm your order. Once retech confirms that order, it will take it back to in process. And once it's in process, you'll know that retech is working on it. You'll also get an email once we confirm it, letting you know that we are working on it as well. One last thing that I'd like to show is registrations. So if you click up here at the top, you have access to the labeler code request and establishment registrations. So if I wanted to do a labeler code request, again, that very familiar looking grid where we can filter if need be. We can also sort drafts, and this is where you receive your LCR deliveries as well. So if you recall from the current system today, labeler code requests and establishment registrations are completely SaaS, software as a service. You don't need any support from retech to complete these. So once you build your form and you build the SPL file, this is where you would retrieve it. Right here under file name, you would click this link here, and that would download your labeler code request. Be very similar for establishment registrations as well. I can view any of my labeler codes that I currently have by clicking on the form name. That will take me into a current one. If need be, I can create one from scratch very easily by clicking on New LCR. I would first choose my submission type, my revision date, the specific company. If I have an NDC labeler code already, I can choose it. In most cases, you would not have one, leave that blank. But for this sake, let's say I'm updating one, I'll choose it. Ensure that my labeler contact information is all there, and I can build my SPL. Now, in the background, what this is doing is building the SPL XML itself. And once completed, it'll be available in the Deliveries tab. So here in this case, it's telling me I have an error. And what my error is that I've already used this labeler code before for another company. So it's telling me I can't use this. You associate it as another company. So I wanted to point this out, that it does do cross-validation across the system to make sure that you're not duplicating your data or making any incorrect submissions to FDA. So obviously what I would have to do is I'd have to go back and make some changes to my information and make sure that I'm not using duplicate data. Moving over to establishment registrations, it's very similar to what we just saw with labeler code requests. The grid is exactly the same. You have your ER deliveries on that tab. You click the file name to download. You have any drafts, live it in the drafts. And then on the ER tab, you have your active most recent ER forms. To create a new one, click New ER, choose your submission type, your date, start with your registering company, your registered contact, because you already associated that in the contacts or in the company's library, will pre-populate. Choose your establishment information. And once you have this all filled out, you're good to go. You can validate, build your SPL. If you have more than one establishment, you can add by clicking on the green plus symbol and add a second. And then perhaps you can add a third as well. So here you'll notice I don't have any contact information. It's because when I created a Wayne Tech earlier, I had never added that. I could go back to the company record here by clicking view. And you'll see here, I never filled out my contacts. I can add these, hit update company, and then the record will fill in if need be. Once I build that and it goes through the validation, again, it will quickly build your XML. And I can click here to download, I can review it, and then submit to the FDA. Before we get into any questions, what I'll do now is move over to support and feedback very quickly. This is where we would host the user manual that you'll be able to download. We're also working on supplemental training videos that we will embed in the system that will help you so you don't have to view the entire training manual. If you need any additional training, you can register here as well. If you have any feedback, you can share it here. Or if you have any questions about the SPL preparation or SPL submissions, you can contact us at spl@readtech.com. So now we'll move over to our Q&A portion of the presentation today.
Thank you, John. We do have a few minutes for some questions. And once again, I did just want to reiterate that we would like you to use the Q&A feature to send all questions. One question that we did have pop up was, what features will not be included in the release version that launches on October 26th that will be available in a later update?
Yeah, so everything that you have today, essentially in SingleSource for drug products, you will have in the new system as well. What we are looking to do, which is going to require us, to work with you to get some feedback and do some discovery, is that we like to provide a more complete SPL tool. So we would like to include GDUFA, which you don't have today. We like to include the blanket node change functionality, perhaps some content labeling functionality as well. But again, this is everything that we would need to work with you to get feedback to see what this would look like and what best works for you.
Okay, great, thank you. Another question we have here is, do we still need to contact ReadTech to have a new user added to the system, or is that something we can now manage ourselves?
So for right now, if you have a net new user, you would still contact ReadTech, but the process is a lot quicker. Once you contact us, we can set up that user right away, and they'll be able to access the system. What we want to explore in the future, and again, we have to do discovery around this, would be if somebody from your company would want admin capabilities to be able to add their own users. Again, this is something that we'll be exploring potentially in 2021, but we don't want to put any functionality in the system that does not bring value to the greater collective of users.
Okay, great, thank you. Another question we have here is, how often will we need to update our password, and how will we be notified that it is expiring?
Sure. With the new system, again, you have complete control over your password. Right from day one, you have control. But we do have to put some security protocols in place. Currently, it will be a 60-day reset. Prior to those 60 days, you will get an alert, an email alert, informing you that you have so many days to change your password. I believe you'll start getting them about 10 days out from the date your password needs to be changed.
Okay, great. And we have one last question. Again, please use the Q&A feature if there are any other questions. Will we still receive emails when an order is delivered?
Yeah, absolutely. So when an order is delivered, you will get an email notifying you that it has been delivered. Once we confirm an order, you'll get an email very similar to what we do today.
Okay, thank you. That looks like all the questions that have come through. If you do have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to the ReTech team. We do thank you all for joining the webinar today. And just a reminder that you will officially have access to this live environment on Monday, October 26th, starting at 7 a.m. Eastern Time.